Alrighty, we're up to the last step before I split the case, removing all these screws here. So we'll get onto that. Well, that's a homemade gasket that didn't fucking fit. Righty, so now that we've worked out the piston's knackered, I have checked and we've got no up and down movement of the rod. We've got just side to side, and I've done a bit of research, and that's supposed to move side to side, but there's no up and down movement like at top dead center. There's no up and down movement. One thing I have noticed, rather worryingly, is this piston. This is the exhaust port side. That arrow is facing towards the intake. That arrow should be facing towards the exhaust port. So this piston has been installed back to front. And what can happen there is this piston should have like a locator there, and it will stop this ring from sliding around. It'll be going up and down where the exhaust port is. So if that ring comes out exactly how it is right now, because that's where that locator is, which is missing, it'll get snagged on the exhaust port. And that could have been exactly what's happened. It's got snagged, kicked it out. If it had a bit of play somewhere, kicked it out and just smashed this off. So the stupidity of someone putting that in backwards could have caused all this drama. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm the stupid one, but from all the research I've done, that's the wrong way. Arrow should be facing the exhaust. On the top of the piston here, you can see the letter C. So the pistons come in sizes A, B, C, and D, and then the barrels come A, B, C, and D. And you should match them up as close as possible, A being the smallest and D being the biggest. So a D barrel might not fit an A piston in it, but the difference is that minute between the lot of them. You pretty much can run an A in a D barrel. When you buy a piston from Yamaha, most of the time it's either a B or a C, because it will fit pretty much anything. If you're putting a piston in a used barrel, so if your barrel's all good, not like mine that's got a fucking shotgun hole in it, you get a D piston because it's on the bigger side, and it will have more, like a used barrel is obviously going to be a bit worn out, so the D piston will be best for it. I have noticed, actually one of my subscribers noticed, when I was pulling this apart, it's hard to tell, this shaft does have a tiny bit of play. Now, it's going to be a bit tricky because the motor will move a bit. You can see there, see that tiny little bit of play in there? So we'll be putting a new set of bearings in. It's only a little bit, but we're in here, we might as well fix it. So next up, I'll be putting the case splitter on, and we'll get this case apart. Alrighty, hopefully you can see this. Like I said, I bloody wish I cleaned this up before I started. Anyway, we're now ready to pull this side case off. So, this moment of truth. Where's this bit of piston going to be? What's going on with the gearbox? Why is it locked up? On first inspection, with the metal. Normally in the gearbox, the metal should be stationary, not moving about. So we've got some good bits in there. Next up, not sure how dirty that part should be, but she's dirty in there. The wasp nests. With the wasp nest, normally they're supposed to be on the outside of the engine, generally, because like it's not the best for the motor to have the wasps inside it. So we'll remove that little modification that they've done there. But in all seriousness, there's no crack. You can see there's a bit of a wear ring here from the bottom end, from the crank, sorry. Another indication that this bearing here could be a bit worn. We're getting a bit of wear there. But I can't see. Do you know what I can't see? Is a gasket between the two cases. That's what I can't see, is a gasket between the two cases. So there's problem number one. There definitely be a gasket there, and there's a big lack of gasketage. Righty? So other than that, we're all looking pretty good in here, other than obvious metal and wasp nest. So we'll move on to the next part. This is the part we'll be filming and I'll be watching 500 times to when I put it back together. Righty, just having a look at this gearbox because I've never pulled one out before. And what it looks like we've got here is I've got this gear here, and then we've got a 3-piece gear in here. This must be a custom Yamaha setup, this 3-piece oval gear. That's custom order. You can't buy that. That's someone's custom ordered that one. And then we've got another custom piece in here. This is a custom gearbox fork. Normally they're a fork, but I've got like a spork, we'd call that one, a spork that is. So there's obviously been a nice race bike and have put some custom parts in here. I might change these back to original. I might just get a 1-piece gear. I think a 1-piece gear would go better for my case, and I'll get a fork instead of a spork, I reckon. And like just these bits of metal floating around, I might just take them out. A bit of weight reduction, it might make it go a bit quicker. But in all seriousness, just having a bit of a look. This will take me a minute, guys, because I've never pulled one of these apart. There we go. Alright, so from what I can tell on this shaft, obviously apart from that one, that does have a bit of wear on it, which is a little bit worn out, that one. Apart from that one, and apart from that, I don't know if you can see on here, I'll spin this one first up. It actually looks like the teeth on that one are alright. I'll go on the next one. Now, I know they're all spinning, but we're only focusing on this one here. The teeth on that one also look alright. Next one up, we'll go on this one. The teeth on that also look alright. Another thing to watch out for is these little humps in here, that they're not rounded off. These ones are nice and square on the corners, which is good, because if they're rounded off, when it goes into the gear here, when it goes into the gear, if they're rounded off on the top, it can jump out of gear. So these ones are nice and square, and we'll check the teeth on this. Check the teeth on this last top one. They also look good. My only concern with this shaft is here. And there. I'm going to do a bit of research, because this broken gear, once it's unbroken, goes on this way. You can see this little gap in here. That's where the selector fork goes in when it's not all boomerangy. So I want to know how far this, oh yeah, so we can see it's getting caught on there. So this is a hard part to get. So I want to see if I can get a shaft, because I can get another complete gearbox for, I think it was 300 or 350. But why get the complete gearbox if I've only got the shaft? So, and then obviously this one goes on there, and it only goes as far as this collar here. So I'll have a look into this, because can that just be tickled with a file? It's still got a chunk of meat on it, like it's still got shitloads there. It's just got one tiny little step that might play a drama with us. But that is the problem, guys, as you can see. So that is why she was locked up. We'll have a look at this other one over here. We'll go through this tooth first. Just looking at the teeth just on that bottom one. There's a bit of metal there, but they are just sitting on there in the oil. Once they come off, there is no damage on that tooth. Right, this next one here. We'll go on this one. I did notice, here we go, just these teeth here, you can't tell there, if you're watching this second gear here, guys, you can't tell there, but once you come around this side, there you can see that the side profile still looks amazing. So quite possibly might be changing that one out. Move to the next one, which is this first one here. That all looks fine. Next one along, again, looks fine. Next one along, looks fine. And the last one here, looks like it's supposed to be there. I'll research into that one. That's two perfectly dead center, and exactly the same on everyone to be damaged, but you never know, it could be. And like I said, all of these little tabs coming out, they're all nice and square. They're not rounded off. They're not going to be slipping out of gear or anything like that. And the other thing we need to be checking along is this shift drum. So this is that star that you see out the other side. And you got first here, neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. So it goes in there and slides along and allows you to change your gears. So what can happen is the inside edges of these like valleys or channels, whatever you want to call them, if they get like a little burr or a step in them, it could stop. It can stop the fork from being able to slide. So obviously the fork stays still and it's on a shaft, and when this turns it goes like that. So if it gets stuck somewhere, that can be another thing that can bind up your gearbox. But in our scenario, I'm quite sure this is what's bound up our gearbox, just by my knowledge. And thank God I'm filming this, because for the life of me, I'll never remember how that goes in by itself without re-watching me video 45 times. And I'm just using my very technical tool here of closing one eye and lining it up with a bit of dirt on the table to see if that shaft is going straight. And I'd call that rebuilt, that is. So we'll get that back in there. I'm just absolutely amazed that that piece of piston hasn't gone down in here and ripped it apart. Like I said, I wasn't sure if it could have got down into here, which it couldn't have, just the way that the casing's made it kind of got down there. So it might have been extremely lucky. However that broke, it might have just popped up and sat in the sort of the intake, maybe. Jesus, that would have been lucky as. Or if it came out the exhaust side, but that would have been very lucky too, because it is on the opposite side. So who knows? So I think success. Let's call it success. I got the case apart. There's no hole in the bottom. The gearbox is not totally rooted, just some of it. So I'm pretty happy with this actually, to be honest, because you can get singular gears. The shaft is going to be the hardest part. That's the other thing I've got to look into, is that mark there right on the edge. I don't know if that's supposed to be there, that groove, so it works out alright because I want to sort of get that shaft anyway again. So we'll do that, get the shaft and all that on its way. I've got a top end coming for it, piston, barrel, the whole lot. Got new gaskets on their way. I've got all the O-rings and seals. I'll jump on and order new bearings. The only bearing I'm not going to replace is this one here. It has no up and down movement. So that's what's happening with that. And then on the next one, which it's going to be a little while, guys, it'll be a little while to the next video because I've got to wait for things, and I live in a tiny little town. Things take time to get here sometimes, and I'm going to be time poor now because I'm heading back to work start next week. So the next one might be a little while, but at least we know where we're at now. We'll get it all back together and see if it goes bring da ding da ding ding ding. Again, thanks for watching. Drop a comment down below if you think it'll go again, or if you think I'll remember how to put it back together again. And see you on the next one.